It's Monday. You know what that means.
Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Erik.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting. And finally, 2021. We survived 2020, Dave.
Happy New Year.
With all the energy that we've come to expect. There it is.
I guess it can only get better.
I mean, I feel like you might be jinxing us with that. How about I want to say it might have been Blaine from Blainer Things, was like, let's not say Happy New Year this year. Let's just shout out something like Jumanji or Yahtzee when the ball drops, just so that we don't jinx ourselves. I'm kind of into that.
Let's get Shotzi Blackheart to build a tank.
Yes, there we go. That's that. You know what? That should be our 2021 motto, Dave. I did share that out on Instagram and Twitter. I don't know if the powers that be saw it, but I have that clip saved. I'm gonna keep recirculating it, and we'll use hashtag build the tank for 2021, because I think you're on the money with that one.
On today's episode.
So, speaking of putting 2020 in the rearview mirror, today we are going to go through our favorite action figures from 2020, and to do that, we invited a guest to do it with us, and he is an incredibly good friend of ours. Has been suffices to say a mentor really to us as we've entered the toy community. We have Khalil from Kastor's Korner himself. Khalil, thank you so much for joining us on Adventures in Collecting.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. It's kind of fun to be on this side of the microphone, so I'm ready to have some fun.
All right.
I have a little late gift for you. While I was trying to find the AEW figures originally, I finally did it.
What'd you do?
I used the websites.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I had some thoughts on that, and I'll share them at another time when we can talk about finding stuff. But they help. They help sometimes, right?
I almost sent you a screenshot of the text message when he was like, "It says they're in stock at your store." I almost I was going to take a screenshot of it and just be like, "Oh, it says it. What is that? What does it
mean?" That's awesome. No, I add, the only reason that I bring it up when I do is because I advocate for people to be able to find the things that they want to find. And so I think we should all use the tools available to us. But there are different ways to use them. So you used it, you got what you wanted, or Erik got what he wanted, and then I'm happy about it. It doesn't matter like how much you use it or when, just that it's available to you. That's my goal, is to kind of just help everybody find the stuff they're looking for.
That was how I found that AEW shipper for when Series 1 came out.
I still have not seen it, by the way. I have not seen one AEW figure in the state of Connecticut. So I'm interested to see what they look like. So, and I saw is it Wave 2 that they announced, or Wave 3?
Wave 2 is hitting now. Wave 3 just got announced.
Yeah. So I want to see them on shelves. I'm excited to see them on shelves. So
I saw them in two separate stores that day. It was like, I couldn't believe it.
I know that the shipper exists because I went to that Rockaway, New Jersey Walmart the day after you to pick up my Cable figure. Because again, using Brickseek, I saw that they had Cable in stock. So I saw
you saw the Belt and the UFC figures.
Yeah, the pick through shipper. But yeah, it was funny. So it does exist. They are real.
It's like that M&M commercial. They do exist.
Yeah.
So before we get into the top 10s and kind of wrapping up and putting 2020 behind us, we did just go through a slew of holidays. So belated happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa to everybody who celebrated all of the December holidays. We figured, the three of us, we probably got some toys for Christmas, or whether they were a gift to us or a gift to ourselves. If there was anything that you guys got for the holidays that you wanted to talk about.
I can go first. I got a couple things I'll mention. Got a couple of pops. Eric, you got me the Iron Maiden 4-pack, which was pretty cool.
Glow in the dark, baby.
Yeah. I got the WrestleMania Build-A-Figure wave that just came out. And I also got a couple Lego sets, which was cool.
Now, do you have the running change Paul Ellering Build-A-Figure?
I would imagine probably not.
Because that's apparently there is a running change with that that Build-A-Figure piece, that torso.
With open jacket versus closed jacket, I have not opened them to check yet.
All right. Got to report back on that.
Yeah, but I did get the Avengers Iron Man Hall of Armor Lego set. I got Obi-Wan's hut and the Super Mario starter kit, which I'm very excited about.
Oh, you got with the did you get the NES?
No, I didn't get the NES yet.
Okay. Because I think he well, not think. I know he actually interacts with that NES if you build it.
Oh, he does?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, if you put him on top of the TV, he basically does the plays the original Mario theme and
that's awesome.
Reacts as Mario hits the coin box and stuff.
Yeah, he does like the World 1-1 noises.
That's too cool. I love when they do like little inside things like that.
Oh, and you got a I saw you open it in front of me. You got a 1 out of 96 the Loyal Subjects Alien.
Yes, I did.
Those are good pulls.
Yeah, that was great. You picked that up for me at Five Below. So they're out there, and yeah, it was one of the it was the glow in the dark blue alien. Which is really cool and made me kind of want to go look for more of them, as the Loyal Subjects figures tend to do.
Yeah, and they are so. At the Five Below that I was at, they had the Aliens ones. They had Predator, and then they had the WWE. Gosh, what was it? Series 2?
I think it's Series 2, but it may also be like an offshoot of Series 1.
Okay. But yeah, they did have those, and I mean that's a pretty good deal for $5 a figure. For the if you and some of them like one of the Predator cases was unopened. It was an unopened case, so I mean, I feel like that's a pretty good deal.
Well, in the cases they're puzzled out too. Well, they're not blind boxes anymore. When they were blind boxes, they were puzzled out. So if you knew the layout, you could just pull whatever you wanted, which was nice.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next. Santa brought me the Super 7 Reaction Toxic Crusader, which made me feel totally like a kid again, having a Toxic Crusader figure for Christmas, because I fondly remember those Playmates ones from back in the day. And I also got the Vintage Collection Tatooine Skiff, which is actually, believe it or not, with all the Star Wars figures I collect, that's my first Vintage Collection ship. Yeah, which I couldn't really wrap my head around as I was opening it, because I have so many Star Wars figures, but all of my ships are back from like either the basic line, so like Rey's Speeder, or the A-Wing that came with Harrison Dula. Mm-hmm. All the other ships that I have are old, like Kenner Power of the Force ones. So this was my first Vintage Collection ship, and it is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, I saw the pictures you took. Those pictures are really nice, really well done. So, yeah, it's a nice piece.
There's an insane amount of detail in there, like stuff that like has no business being in there. Like there's parts of the ship that you can take apart that show like the inner workings. That, I mean, for a ship that's on screen for what, a few minutes in the grand scheme of things, mm-hmm. There is an insane amount of detail in there. So
Nice.
it's definitely one that's worth picking up if you collect that scale, because it's still floating around. You can get it on Amazon. I think you can even still get it from Hasbro Pulse, but definitely worth it. And then
And if you look on Brickseek, you can see which Walmarts have them on sale.
there you go. And what do you have to put that? You have to put the hashtag your mileage may vary, right?
Yeah. Right.
And then the only other thing that I picked up was the really happy to grab that Bane Batman surprise drop Spin Master 2-pack. I haven't opened it yet. I've been looking at it. Action Toy Now on Instagram opened his up today. We're recording this just prior to the new year, so he opened his up today and took some pictures of it, and that thing looks fantastic. So I can't wait to open mine.
Yeah, it's a fun one. It's a really fun one.
Khalil, how about you? What did you get for the holidays?
So that's one of the big debates of like who can buy me what. And so I usually get clothes, to be honest with you, and like kitchen stuff and little fun gifts like that. So I would say if we're looking at what I got probably for myself, I picked up the Lego minifigures, the new series yesterday. I got Wave 21. I was able to get all of them from Kohl's, which was nice. No doubles, so my streak is continuing.
Nice.
I picked up the Riddler from the Spin Master set, which we talked about. You did a live open on Instagram, and I popped in for that.
Thank you for doing that, by the way. That was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me join in. That's it for toys right now. Like I'm kind of slowing down at the end of the year, to be honest with you. Like I'm looking forward to 2021 and new stuff, but the last couple weeks have been relatively quiet for toys. Like I'm looking at my pictures and I'm thinking like the beginning of December was the last time I had a really big like buying day. Everything else has kind of just been slow, which is nice, to be honest with you. It's nice to have a little downtime.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff that ended up under the tree for me had been stuff that I had ordered on or around, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, like that kind of November surge, and I just honestly I hadn't gotten a chance to open it, so kept the magic going and just decided to take it from the open pile to the wrapped for Christmas pile.
Yeah, nice.
So it worked out. It was nice. It was very nice. So let's jump right into these lists, because I know everyone is has been talking up the lists. They're you got people doing just Marvel Legends lists. You got people doing worst of lists. It's list time of the season. Let's start with honorable mentions. Khalil, you are our guest, so start us off. Give us your first honorable mention that almost made your list.
So it's not technically one thing, which is weird, but I consider it a set. So a couple months ago, SH Figure Arts put out the Mandalorian in Beskar armor and the Child. They were two different figures, but they came out on the same day at the same, like they were released together. So I can't help but say that those two, I think, go together, and they made the honorable mention list just because I haven't opened them yet, and I don't plan to anytime soon. So because they're a higher end product, it was like $150.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm not ready to kind of just crack those open and let them collect dust. So it's got to be the right time at the right place for these guys. So I think they didn't make the top 10, but they certainly were the highlights.
Yeah, I like all the pictures of that child, or well, now we can say Grogu.
Yeah.
The Grogu figure naked. Like all the people that were posting it without the tunic on, it's bizarre.
Well, that's the sideshow one.
Yeah, both of them. They both have super weird.
Yeah, it's just like a disc connected by like ball joints on this one, which is really weird. But
yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah, so that was one of my honorable mentions.
All right, Dave, do you want to throw one out?
Yeah, I'll do one that I haven't opened yet, and I kind of alluded to it a few moments ago. And the only reason, there's two reasons why it's only an honorable mention. One is I haven't opened it yet, and two is, if you want it to be, it can be as much or as little as you want it to be. But if you want it to be as much as you want it to be, there's a lot to get, and that's Lego Super Mario.
Definitely, because I mean, don't they even have like alternate outfits for him now too?
Yeah, I got an outfit to go with it. I have the cat outfit.
Nice.
But it's purple, so I'm into it. But
I'd want the Tanuki suit. I don't know if they make that, but that's the one I'd want.
I think they do. I think there are many suits. Like, and that's the cool thing with it is, if you want it to just be the starter set, you can just have it be the starter set. You know, there's Koopa Jr. is in it, or Bowser Jr. I should say. But yeah, it's really cool, and it's neat to have the interactive Mario. It's really, I mean, if you go back to what's a Lego set that's really had that kind of battery operated interactive aspect to it, I feel like you're going back to Mindstorms.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a really kind of neat and different Lego product.
And it it's the idea, like I find myself questioning why I buy the different skins on Fortnite, because they're digital and someday I'm going to stop playing the game, and it's kind of like a little bit like I feel a little guilty buying them sometimes. And like this takes it to the physical form. So like I get buying the different suits and then you can play, right? Like there's play action to them. So I like that idea of something that's tangible and it's playable, or has different.
Plus, if you ultimately, if you are putting him on display, it gives you a reason to take him down and avoid that layer of dust. Because you can swap out an outfit. If they're smart about it, and I mean Lego, they're incredible. But like, it would be awesome if as time goes on, they make like holiday themed outfits for him, like they do in Mario Kart, where you can have like a Santa outfit for Mario, or you can have like the Dracula Mario, so that way you can kind of dress him on your display for the time of year. Like that would be a really cool add on and a way to kind of develop the skin
and like platform. The blind bag minifigures that Khalil was talking about, there are blind bag almost like mini villains for the set. So like you get the like the little turtles and everybody like that.
So they have like Koopas and Boos and
yeah.
And you got to get good at filling those packages up now.
All right, so I'm gonna do one that just came out. It's brand new. It actually bumped something off of my list, but for me, it wasn't. It's awesome, but I really like the top 10 that I have are kind of near and dear to me. I'm talking about NECA's Ultimate Ghostface. This figure like came very, very close to bumping one of the 10 out of the list. It's so good. The thing for me about NECA figures is, it's been kind of the talk of the town as of late, right? Like, you got to be careful with the joints. At the end of the day, these are collectibles. They're not action figures. We're not here to, be bashing these against each other. Mine was flawless. I had no problems, a little bit of joint stiffness, but just a little bit of time and patience, and I got everything moving. The thing that's really cool about this figure is that the costume, like the way the costume drapes over it and the fabric that the costume is made out of, feels like the actual Ghostface costume from like back in the day. And it has that kind of stretchy, it even kind of has that like Halloween costume smell to it. Like, and you can, it's, as soon as you take it out of the package, you can smell it. Which is really cool. So like the way that the costume actually drapes on the figure and moves as you articulate it feels like it's wearing a Halloween costume. So that, for me, that was huge. And I'm looking at it right now, and just kind of the way that it's posed, it looks really cool. So that was an honorable mention for me.
I guess it's my turn.
Yep, back to you.
Yeah.
So I got I bought the Hall of Armor first from the Disney store, and then my best friend decided to one up me and bought 8 of them. And then subsequently put them together in a really nice display with all the armors, and then made one for Spider-Man, like a Hall of Spider-Man outfits. So then he went and got me another one. So as of this moment, I have 4 of them. So that was, but I didn't feel like it was, like I took this more of like an action figure.
Yeah.
So that felt more like a play set. Like the Iron Man that came with it, I just tossed it in a box, but the Hall of Armor itself is just is too cool not to have. So I think that was definitely on my list of things, but didn't make the cut.
Yeah, I love those Hall of Armor pictures that you were posting.
Those were all his. Those were 100% his. So he did a great job with it.
So cool. Dave, you're up.
All right, I'm gonna go with one. This is way back from January, and it reminds me of. I actually got it the day that I went to, either the day before or the morning that I went to Disney most recently, and it has nothing to do with Disney, but it is the Ringside Collectibles exclusive first figures with the masks, with the purple shirts, of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast figures. I just thought it was a really neat piece of merchandise that harkened back to a figure set that I only had like a couple of, but it was such a callback to the AWA Remcos. And they definitely 100% fit in that same world, if you want them to. But I thought it was just really cool to have this kind of fun, limited thing.
Yeah, and it's even cooler too. Like I don't know if you ever intend to open those, and I know you're not collecting the masters of the WWE universe, but like they also fit in with those now too, which is awesome.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to open those.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I wouldn't either. All right, so my next one isn't an individual figure. It's kind of I'm putting them all together as one because I honestly don't know what the future of this line holds. I don't think anybody does except for the folks over at Hasbro. I'm talking about the Hasbro Ghostbusters Plasma series. The entire first wave. So from the 6 figures in Wave 1 from the first Ghostbusters film to the Hasbro PulseCon exclusive Tully's Terrible Night. I had never, I had played with the real Ghostbusters figures that were yours, Dave, back in the day, but these were my first Ghostbusters figures, and I think overall, like, yeah, you could nitpick and things aren't perfect, but they're really good figures. They scale with each other really well. Overall, the from the deco to the face prints to the sculpts, like everything is there. They look fantastic. And they were very close again to being something that made my top 10, just because of my personal connection with Ghostbusters and like growing up watching it and, loving the franchise. But they are an honorable mention for me. And we can talk all day about how we hope that, the Plasma series comes back when the new film comes out, when Afterlife comes out, and hopefully we get some additional throwback Ghostbusters figures. Would love some Vigo Build-A-Figure action like we mentioned on the last episode, but that's my next honorable mention is those Ghostbusters.
Very close to being an honorable mention for me.
Yeah, no, they were really good. I was really impressed with them.
I like them a lot too.
Khalil, back to you, buddy.
So here's the funny thing. So I forgot one that I was going to put on the top 10, and I'm sitting here looking at so I pulled all of mine, to be honest with you. So they were in front of me so I could actually talk about them. And I'm going to bump one off my top 10 list.
Oh, last minute change.
Because I like those more in some ways. Like they just speak to me. So anyway, bumping off the top 10 list is the classified series, the G.I. Joe classified series, Destro.
Interesting.
he was, I was trying to figure out if it was going to be him or Snake Eyes, to be honest with you. And this Destro really just embodies, in a lot of ways, everything that was Joe for me. From the 25th anniversary line, I never had Destro as a kid. I got into it late as a kid as far as the toy line goes. And so I think this Destro really just embodies what the 80s, this is like a scaled up, 3 3/4 figure. All the other ones have some kind of tech feature or they seem a little newer. This Destro really just captured that. So he was close. He was really, he was on the list until Erik said something that sparked a remembrance in my head. And I go, oh yeah, no, you're going to track down. So Destro goes from top 10 to honorable mention.
Interesting. All right. Dave, you're up. Let's keep it going.
So I'm going to go with the only single elite WWE Elite figure on the top 10. I think it was far and away the best one. I think it was the coolest one. It was a first in the line one. Elite 79 Io Shirai. It comes with the cool entrance jacket. It's a great figure. As much as there have been some home runs in the Elites this year, where it looks like it's just a small version of the real person, I think they absolutely just big time home run with the EO figure.
Definitely.
It's just a great representation of her.
I finally saw her on pegs recently. And agreed. Yeah, it looks a lot like her. They did a very, very good job with that figure. All right, so my next one. This one is a figure that I know is going to be on a lot of people's top 10 lists, and it is a figure that is awesome. It is a Marvel Legends figure, and I've mentioned it time and time again that I primarily collect the MCU figures, so this was kind of an out of the norm buy for me. But I am talking about the retro Spider-Man, so the 90s animated Spider-Man, all new buck, all new sculpt, incredible range of articulation. He's got those awesome drop tips. He's got the super cool torso articulation. The deco on him is great. The team did a fantastic job from the card art to the Spider-Man itself. So much so that it was out of the norm for an out of the norm purchase for me. Had to make it, but I'm glad I have him. Khalil.
So I'll pair that up. One that kind of was on the list but got beat out was the Green Goblin from that set. And I think the reason I pulled him was he's really cool. It's really nice to have him, but it's a lot of reuse. Like, it's a new head, but the rest of them is reused from other things. So it's not necessarily an original figure for the year. And he matched the look of the 90s figure because he was so bright, like lime green. But if you look at the cartoon or even go back to Spidey and His Amazing Friends, the greens and the purples weren't so bright. So, it knocks that peg down just a little bit for me. And so that's why he didn't make it. But I think he's still a standout for the year.
For sure. I mean, again, we mentioned it at the beginning. Like, you could do an entire top 10 and honorable mention list with the Marvel Legends that came out this year because it's some of the best stuff that they've ever done. But yeah, that's another. I'm looking at him right now as you're talking about him. This is a great figure.
Yeah, for sure. And the Norman head just makes it perfect.
Oh, so. Yeah. Dave, go ahead.
All right, so the last one that I have is the only other elite that's on here. And it's really more so for another single figure that's in it. But I think it's a great 2-pack regardless. And it's the China and Triple H Generation X Elite 2-pack. We got the first ever China Elite. It comes with the European title. It comes with the world title. It's a nice pairing with the either the old DX Shawn Michaels ringside exclusive, or you can pair it up with the Ultimate Shawn that came out. Either way it works, but it's a great 2-pack, and it was good to finally get a China figure.
I'm shocked this didn't make your top 10.
You won't be when we get there.
I tried to predict your top 10, and I thought for sure that was going to be like somewhere in the bottom, but I figured it would be there.
It was almost 10, but the thing that's 10 is there for a reason.
All right, so that was your last one. I'll do one more, and then Khalil, you can wrap it up with your last one. Okay. So my last one for honorable mentions is going to be the SH Monster Arts Rathalos figure. This hulking dragon from Monster Hunter is unbelievable. I don't have a terrible lot of experience with the SH Figure Arts figures. It's just has not been something that I have collected. But this figure, I have not put it away since it has been out. It has become already like a permanent member of my display family. And that's coming from somebody that actually hasn't played a Monster Hunter game in quite some time. I think the last time I played it was on PlayStation 2 or GameCube. But yeah, it is an awesome figure with the full wingspan extended. It's like well over a foot long. It's just an amazingly detailed, articulated dragon, and it's one of those things where, like, even if you are not a Monster Hunter fan and are very familiar with the franchise, but you're into kind of fantasy elements or even just kind of monster collecting, if you're collecting kaijus, it scales awesome with like a Godzilla figure. It is just a wonderful big dragon. And the other thing to consider too is even though it is technically a 1/12 scale figure, being in that SH Monster Arts line, it looks really cool with 1/18 scale or 3 3/4 inch figures. It's like an appropriate dragon size at that scale. So like if you have some of the Hacks figures from Boss Fight Studio, you now have an awesome dragon for those figures. So it is a very multi-purposed scorpion-tailed giant badass looking dragon. So again, something that very, very, very closely almost made the top 10, but it is a wonderful figure.
That's really cool. Yeah, so that kind of goes right into my theme because mine is scorpion themed as well. Scorponok from the Transformers Earthrise line was pretty close. The problem is I love the way he looks, but I have no idea what to do with him. So that's kind of why he didn't make the list, because I have him. He's sitting in my room, tipped over next to the nightstand, but like just kind of leaning on it, and I don't really know what to do with it. So, but he's cool. He's awesome, and he's fun to play with. But once it's hard to take out, and then I don't know what to do with him after that. So.
It's like all these people that have Unicron coming. I can't wait to see pictures of people like including it in their displays. But at the same time, it's just like Hasbro posted the drop test of the shipping box, and just the size of the shipping box. It's like, oh my God, I could fit in there.
Can't wait to see the size of the Sentinels and the Razor Crest, to be honest with you too. That's gonna be insane.
Yeah. All right, Dave, why don't you kick us off with the bottom of your top 10? We'll work our way up to our number one.
I did my best to order this.
Okay, so go ahead, go with your number 10, and tell us a little bit about how you put your list together to like cue it up.
Just in general.
Yeah, so like what are some of the things that like you considered, like how did you come to the list that we're about to hear?
I basically, and even with the honorable mentions, it was, what kind of not made me take a kind of a step back once I saw it and was like, this is unbelievable. I feel like everything on my list had that, like, exceeded expectations type of feeling to it once I got it. But it was also one of those things where once I saw it, it matched how I felt once it was in my hands. There may be things that are quote unquote better toys, but it's my list.
That's the point. That's awesome. Exactly what it is. It's your list.
Yeah, you're in some of these articulation does not matter, which is evident in the first one. It is the television moment Funko of the Mandalorian and, as he was known at the time of packaging, the Child. This is one of those ones that looks good in box. I'm sure it looks just as good out of box. In the box, there is the background, which basically is like you've got to pull this thing out of the box and put it on the shelf. That way, if you're an out of box Funko collector, but it is basically that scene from early in season 1 where it's Mando and the Child kind of walking down the street with the orange in the background and everything like that. And it's they bobble heads because that's what the Star Wars Funko Pops do. But it's the Child in the pram and Mandalorian walking beside him, and it's just you can't think of a more iconic image especially from season 1, but really from the show in general, of them next to each other when he first starts walking away with him.
So cool.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. All right. So on to my list. All right. So my list, I do have it ordered 1 to 10. But in all fairness, on any given day, really from 3 to 10 could be ordered at random. In terms of actual order, whereas my 1 and 2 are very much so my 1 and 2. The way that I came up with my list, and I want to set some ground rules for my list. And I'm not trying to cheat, and this was not an effort to get more figures on the list. Some of my, in fact, 2 of the things on my list are for more than one figure, but that is because I'm considering it to be a set. You could not get one of the figures alone. The only way to get said figure would be to get the set that it came with. We're not getting to one of those yet, but that is something that is featured on my list twice. And then the other thing that I considered was, again, we've mentioned it several times, but with the sheer amount of McFarlane figures this year and the sheer amount of Marvel Legends and NECA figures and Star Wars figures, I wanted to make sure that I was kind of spreading the wealth across the different the different brands that I collected this year. So I did try to feature some of those figures or some of those companies at least once, and I think I did that. Hasbro's on here 3 separate times, but it's across 3 different franchises. So that being said, my number 10 is Jazzware's Legendary Series Beef Boss figure from Fortnite. Their characters, whether you play the games or not, these characters are so toyetic, and they do such a nice job of, in both scales. I'm collecting the 6-inch scale, but in both the 3 3/4 and 6-inch scale, they scale with other figures that happen to cross over into the game. So whether it's the 3 3/4 Marvel Universe figures and Star Wars figures, or the Marvel Legends and Star Wars Black Series figures, you can have these action figure battle royales that cross into the way that you play the game, and it is just incredible. Now, Beef Boss, he comes with incredible accessories. He's got that super goofy head sculpt with the tongue out and big old hamburger head. It's just a very fun figure, and especially for whatever reason, they're food related ones. So like the brat and Peely, and Tomato Head, like those food related figures for whatever reason seem to be so much fun compared to some of the other ones. But it is a great line overall that has had some really cool additions to it this year. So consider Beef Boss to represent the larger efforts of the Jazzwares Fortnite Legendary Series line in 2020.
That's a good one. I like that one a lot. Those were very close to being honorable mentions too. So I agree. They're a great line overall.
Yeah, they're just they're stupid fun. They're stupid fun figures, and having had the opportunity this year to speak to people like Mike DeCamp and Jeremy, and some of the other people that are behind these figures, like it's clear that they like get it. They understand what the IP is, and they understand what people want to see from it. They're delivering, so yeah. It's been a fun line to collect.
All right, so my list. How did I put this together? Well, I frantically put it together about an hour ago. I mean, I've been thinking about it for days, but like actually picking the ones, because I went around and I went around to all the spots and I pulled them so that I would have them in front of me so I could really appreciate why they are top 10. And as I look around at all of them right now that are surrounding the desk, they are toys that if I were to sell stuff tomorrow, like if I had to get rid of stuff, these 10 would be keepers. Like they would go into a box and they stay, and they can kind of stand on their own and tell their own story. I did pair some up, not necessarily in an attempt to add more to the list, but felt like they either bookended each other for the year or I wouldn't be able to choose just one ever. Like they just go too well together. And so there's not really a particular order, to be honest with you. There's not like a number one. Particularly like looking at all these guys, they're all number one in their own respective lines, I guess, because I don't think anybody is in the same line. So that's how I picked mine. So I guess I'll go with number 10. And I think it might have been the first toy I bought this year. Technically, the first 2020 toy. And it's the McFarlane Multiverse Superman. I think he's pretty darn classic. In color, he's got a matte finish to his costume. He's got the big billowing cape. He's got the spit curl up front. He's got like a very stoic look on him, but like a little smirk. He comes with a flight stand. Articulation's not the greatest, but he can get into that flying pose from that Jim Lee cover where Batman's sitting on the gargoyle, and it was like a wizard cover, I think it was. And he can do that pose where he's got the bicep curls, like almost like he's ready to fight, and he's got like one leg up and he's kind of flight pose, and you can do that with this figure. And the S is nice and big, so he stands out as a quintessential Superman for me, like a really basic definitive look for Superman. So
now I know for a fact that all three of us have this. He is not on my list. Dave, was Superman on your list?
He is not on mine. I really do love that figure. I do have him with the, arm out, hand on his hip, flying pose. It was actually the first. Was it the first? Yeah, I think it was the first McFarlane DC figure I got. We will get to the DC multiverse though for me.
All right, cool. So no overlap so far. All right, Dave, keep us going. What's the next on your list?
So Eric, you mentioned Jazzwares.
I sure did, Dave.
Well, this is my first Jazzwares entry. It is a Ringside Collectibles exclusive. It is something that is a first in a long time that we've had in a major figure line. Definitely something, the first that's been widely available. And it is the Dustin Rhodes, Cody Rhodes, Blood Brothers AEW Unrivaled 2-pack. It represents a really cool moment in the early history of AEW. Yes, Dustin is really tall. But the fact that there is, like, if you ever wanted blood on your figures, you drew it on there. Here we have the actual bleeding figures. Like, they are as they were in the match, which is unreal, and it's a really cool kind of attention to detail thing that Jazzwares did for those figures.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we will talk more about the AEW Jazzwares figures as our lists continue here, but that is a really cool set. All right, so next one for me, moving up, is my tribute for the vintage collection offering this year from Hasbro, is the vintage collection Moff Gideon figure from Hasbro, from, of course, our main villain from The Mandalorian, Giancarlo Esposito. They absolutely nailed his likeness. I think this, if it isn't the best, it's one of the best 3 3/4 inch vintage collection face sculpts they've done. His cape stays on, which is miraculous the way that it's connected. You'd think it would be constantly falling off if you looked at it sideways. The Darksaber, while simple, is that painted white line on it is a nice contrast. It articulates well. It stands. It has great center of balance. It photographs really well. It is a fantastic figure, and I think a great representation for what Hasbro has offered this year in the vintage collection.
It is a good one. It's a really good one. I agree with you.
So continue, Khalil. Let's hear your next one.
Okay, so Dave, you're probably going to have to help me with this because I don't know. I don't know what line it's part of.
Okay.
I just know I like it. So I have a really good memory of this figure. I took my niece out in January for a hunting trip, and she had never gone out toy hunting with me. And she was thrilled because she's 12 or 13. She's 13 now, so she was 12. And she wanted to hang out, but she loved the fact that we went shopping everywhere, like all day. And then we got Five Guys. So I got that day. And the other reason I picked it was a friend of mine asked me about getting a version of this person. And I sent him a picture, and it might be a picture that might go down as one of the best pictures I've ever taken of an action figure. So without further ado, it is a figure from the WWE Mattel line. Came out early this year. He's probably in the he was $15.99 when I bought him, but I think he's like $20 normally. But it's the Rock figure. Came with alternate hands, the belt. It's got his tribal tattoos, so it's from him later. He's bald and later. But I'm not sure which. I don't know enough about wrestling figures.
It's the bald one?
Yeah, it's not the Ultimates where like it's like the $30 figure, but it's the one where you get like it was him and Lita in that set. So I got him and Lita.
I was gonna say it's probably the Royal Rumble one. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great one.
It is. It's just it just looks like him, and I did a great like. I look at that photo and I sent it to my friend, and he was like, "You took this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And it just did like a really good job of him standing on the top rope with the belt over his head, and somehow I got the lighting right. And he's like, "It looks like the figure's sweating, just like the Rock." Like, so I just I nailed the overall look. I'm really proud of that picture. It's on my Instagram from like way early this year. So he's definitely in the top 10 between memories and just like. He might be the ultimate Rock figure for me. So
it's an awesome figure. I like that one a lot.
I'm going to go back and find that picture and make sure that we share it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
So my number 8, I'm actually going to head into the Mattel Ultimate line, but not the same wrestler. We're actually going to talk about who he faced at WrestleMania that year that figure was made for. So The Rock won that world title at the Royal Rumble the year they made that figure, or to represent the figure that Khalil was talking about. This one's an earlier John Cena to represent when John Cena came back at the Royal Rumble from I believe it was a pec injury, like super early, and he was the surprise 30th entry, and Madison Square Garden went nuts. And it is this figure. Like, you can basically do any of the poses of him coming out when he entered the ring, or when he came out of the entranceway for the Royal Rumble. It's probably the best John Cena figure that they've made. Great likeness. It has the ultimate articulation, so you can pretty much pose him any way you need to and make it work.
Nice.
Very cool. Yeah, both John Cena's that I've seen this year have been incredible figures. So and I think all of this kind of boils down to, like, technology has gotten to a point where they can kind of deliver the accuracy necessary to really kind of do justice to some of these defining moments, whether it's in a film franchise or a video game or wrestling. It really is incredible. Speaking of movies, my next entry comes from a movie that is near and dear to my heart, from a company that I think this year had an incredibly strong year, with a multitude of their figures, whether it was, film or video game or comic related. I'm talking about the Diamond Select Iron Giant figure.
Right.
This figure, so I knew I wanted it when they had announced it, and I hit up our local comic shop, Zap Comics, and they had them, and I went and picked them up, and it had features to it and swappable hands and like these little tiny details that made it, because I mean, if you think about it, right, like, he's a simple enough figure in terms of the sculpt and everything, but they added these really thoughtful touches. So, like, Hogarth can sit on his shoulder, right? Can sit on the giant's shoulder, but Hogarth has a tiny little screw in him, and there's a magnet on the giant's shoulder, so that way when you put him there, he stays there. Hogarth's head is painted like it is so tiny, but the detail is there. Like, if you pull out a magnifying glass, like, you can see the detail in Hogarth's face. It's insane. The light up feature, the clip on S for his Superman cosplay, the dent in his head. I mean, all of the things that you need for an Iron Giant figure are there, and then on top of it, you're getting it at like a $30 price point, which is insane. It is a wonderful figure, especially if you love that film, and it looks fantastic on the shelf in that 7-inch scale, with the rest of the movie figures that are kind of generally in that scale as well. A huge win for Diamond Select.
They do some really great collectible stuff. Like, when you really take a look at some of the stuff they do, some of it's some of the best stuff ever.
Oh yeah.
And it's such a good figure, and it just makes you think of the movie without pause.
Okay, so my next one, I picked it just because I think I've always wanted this as a toy, and for whatever reason, I missed it in like the late 90s, early 2000s. But this kind of makes up for it at a price point that you really can't beat. And the movie just was, the movie it comes from, it's just heartwarming. It's just so much fun. I remember watching it starting it at like 12:30 or midnight, and then staying up until almost 3 watching it. So I picked from the Basic Fun Toys Scoob line. I picked Dynamite. It's just like the colors are striking. The look on his face, he's just very. It takes an iconic look, updates it, but respects where it comes from. So I think it's just one of the best figures of that entire line.
Yeah, and that movie was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It really was. It was a lot of fun. And I know, the way that internet culture is, everybody looks for a reason to be down on stuff. I watched that movie with my daughter, and we both loved it. Like, fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but it looked very adorable.
It's so good, and there's so many throwbacks to like the original stuff. So like, just it's perfect. It's one of those perfect movies.
I just found that picture you took of The Rock, by the way. You took that on my birthday, so happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday.
That is an amazing picture of The Rock.
Thank you.
Dave, keep us going.
All right, so number 7 for me. We're up to 7. Counting down from 10. It is my first DC Multiverse figure on the list. It's one of those ones where once I saw that it was coming out, I was like, I don't know if I need this. And then I saw it. And it kind of went along with I changed my rules a little bit to be superpowers-esque. But really just the accessories and I'll go so far as to call them action effects on the figure are just very unique and very unlike what you would expect from a figure based on a comic book. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I didn't know I wanted this until I saw it, and that's the Flash.
Yeah, I had the same reaction with that figure. I also bought him. Did not think I was going to be bringing him home until I saw him in person.
Yeah, just those lightning effects are super cool.
The effects make the figure. Like there are issues with the figure overall for me, but those effects just like ratchet it up so much higher.
Yeah, between the effects and his grin, that like smirk.
Yeah, the smirk is really cool too.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so my next figure is a version of a figure, an alternate version of a figure that we have talked about already. Khalil, you bumped his normal version off of your list, but
I knew this was coming.
Yeah, I knew this was going to be there.
Coming in at number 7 for me is good old. It's hard out there for a profit director. The PDD profit director Destro on the G.I. Joe classified line. So I had a weird relationship with G.I. Joes when I was a kid. Like, I had a lot of Dave's old ones. But then I also had some for myself. Mostly it was the Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter G.I. Joes. Those were the ones that were really, my favorite. But it also kind of sucked me in a little bit to certain characters. So the Destro figure that I had was very much so not the Pimp Daddy Destro repaint that is of legend at this point. But when they announced this figure, and they had him with the accessories, with the burning money and like the Miami Vice sunglasses and the leopard print and the colorway of the figure, I sold. I was instantly sold at the absolute ridiculousness of the figure, and having it in person is just all that much better. It just translates perfectly. Another figure that just comes with super cool accessories that you can use for toy photography elsewhere. The
burning money rules, by the way.
It's just the best, man. Like, it is just the coolest, weirdest, loudest, most obnoxious figure that I bought this year, and I couldn't be happier with it. So that is my number 7. And it is also representing for me just the overall quality and fervor that's been behind the G.I. Joe classified line. I've picked up, I am by no means a completionist when it comes to that line. I think it's kind of tough anyway. But the other figures that I've picked up from the line this year have also been incredible and could have very well been in this slot. But I'm giving it to the profit director Destro.
It's a good choice. So my next choice, not to, this is going to sound bad. For most people, this won't be in their 2020 lineup for figure of the year, because I don't think a lot of people have this yet. with only a few days.
You jerk. I know what it's going to be, you jerk.
What's it going to be? I want to know if you guessed it. Go ahead.
It's going to be Din Djarin and the Child.
It is. It's the Vintage Collection 2-pack with Din and Grogu. And the only thing missing from it would have been to have the pram. But it's got like the armor that's kind of beat up after the Mudhorn fight, and it comes with like the ice cream maker with the bars of Beskar and backpack, and the unmasked head is not as bad as everybody's made it out to be. I think the version that came out in the Moff Gideon wave is this. It's the same one except with cleaned up armor, and I'm really looking forward to that individual child figure. But the accessories alone, you can't beat this. But for the vintage collection, the detail work, the size, and everything they did with it is stunning. And it takes you back to what Star Wars should be: this scale, nice and small, with big vehicles. And so I'm dying to see him someday on somebody I know will have a Razor Crest. So I'll be able to see what he looks like with it. So
somebody you're talking to will actually.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I backed it. I backed it. I cannot wait to get that thing. So
cool.
Yeah. That figure, I have it pre-ordered. I actually have it pre-ordered at Walmart, I think twice. It popped up again recently, and I pre-ordered it again just in case they cancel my original one.
Yeah.
That is probably that right now. That's my white whale of a figure. That's the one that like I hope I can get.
It's for me who's not collected Star Wars figures in a long time, where I'd even be like, I'd consider getting this one just to have it.
Yeah, it's just overall cool, even in the package, like not even having to open it. It's just like a nice, like little complete set, you know?
And it's got that super cool. I know some people are like, ugh, it's ugly. If the people who are saying, ugh, it's ugly, don't understand Kenner Star Wars figures, but it's got that like super fat, the child sticker right on the bubble.
Yeah.
It's just, it's perfect. It is such a perfect
throwback.
Yeah, it's amazing. Jealous. Dave, you go.
All right. So, it is, speaking of perfect, my number 6 is what I think is as of printing, because I haven't received any of the new ones yet or purchased any of the new ones. The best WWE Ultimate figure that there's been so far. We talked about the Royal Rumble Rock, but this is the Ultimate Rock. It was an Amazon exclusive. I believe it was Wave 6 of the Ultimates. It's just an awesome rock from the Attitude Era. He comes with the Big Eagle World Championship. He has the Just Bring It hand. It's just incredible. It's such a good figure.
Yeah, I was on the fence about getting it. I didn't end up getting it, but because I have this one, but yeah, no, I was really close to pulling the trigger on that one.
Yeah, if you're gonna get you're gonna get 2 rock figures, those are the 2 to get.
Those are the 2, yeah.
So my next figure is a figure that I thought in a million years would never exist. And in a year where we got a couple of figures from that, we'll never get these figures in a million years category, is the 2018 Tom Hardy Venom figure from Marvel Legends. Arguably, so like I love that Tom Hardy Venom movie. The movie is a little disjointed. I know it's not perfect, but his portrayal as Eddie Brock and Venom is it's amazing. The chemistry he has with himself is so much fun. And the figure, they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it with both of those head sculpts. And I think on top of it, whether or not that's the Venom that you were always hoping for, the buck that they put it on, the all new sculpt, is like the perfect Venom buck. So like if they, inevitably when they put out a new Venom, that should be the buck for it going forward. There's been an amazing customizer world out there that have been taking those Venoms and repainting them, and they look fantastic with like, you know, the old school McFarlane lines and everything. But yeah, so that is my my number 6 is the Marvel Legends movie Venom, and that very well could have been a bunch of other Marvel Legends figures from the filmverse and otherwise, because it has been a wild, amazing year for Marvel Legends figures. Khalil.
Okay, so the next one on me is the group section for me, just because I can't imagine doing just one of these. They might go down as some of my favorite figures ever. So Super 7 did a line of Reaction Thundercats, and Wave 1 was Panthro, Lion-O, Chitara, Jacqueline, Slithe, and Mumra. And as a whole, because I bought it as a package deal, and they just embody what would have been. I think they surpass what the LJN line was. And if Super 7 can finish off this line with 2 or 3 more waves, I think it could be, as much as I love the Ultimates, and I've supporting them 200% actually, technically. I love these figures.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, Super 7, they're kind of in a world of they exist in a bubble, and that bubble is amazing, and the stuff that they put out is weird and incredible and wonderful.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's not the only time they'll be featured on this list.
Cool.
Yeah, and what I like about those two is I had the LJNs when I was a kid. They were awesome. They had the ring, you could put it and make people's eyes light up and everything. But these are like, if they didn't make the enormous LJN figures and they made the 3 3/4, this is probably what they would have been.
Right, and I think it's perfect.
Behind the reactions, is perfect always. So number 5, mine is a figure that was up for pre-order in 2019 from a moment that happened in 2019. That is the first memeable moment in AEW history. I, of course, am talking about another Ringside Collectibles exclusive from the AEW Jazzwares Unrivaled line. I'll do it. I'll just do it.
Just do it.
A little bit of the bubbly. The Chris Jericho, a little bit of the bubbly figure. Down to the exact olives that were in the and cheese, pieces of cheese in the cheese tray. Like, they absolutely nailed this figure, this set, or this little play set. Down to Jericho's face with him holding the microphone when you could put the belt over his shoulder. It's a very different figure from the first Jericho figure that initially came out in the first wave. It's just awesome.
So my next one is also a group, and kind of part of a box set. It's kind of funny that we all had sort of groups or box sets in this slot in the list. But also, much like the Venom before, it comes from that category of figures that I never thought in a million years I would get. And I said, as much as I love Ninja Turtles, and I really love Ninja Turtles, I was not opening up that can of worms with NECA because the figures are just too good. And I knew once I started, that would be it. So I set up very distinct, clear guardrails for myself, because I thought in a million years, had I set up these guardrails, I would not be buying figures. But I said, if they ever make the coming out of their shells Ninja Turtles, I would buy them. And I said it half jokingly and half like, I hope they exist one day, because I will totally get them, because I remember that special. I remember the Pizza Hut commercials, like all of that. So the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive was the musical Mutagen Tour, or as we better know, as they're more well known, the Coming Out of Their Shells Tour Ninja Turtles, and they are so good and so bad.
What a box set.
And like the like just the intensity of like being able to get the pre-order at Target, like from Target.com, like sitting there refreshing frantically for like, I think it was actually like 38 minutes or something like that I sat there and refreshed for until I finally got it. And it came with a t-shirt, and I was able to get the t-shirt my size, and it's got the concert ticket that I never had. It was just, they're perfect. And they might legit, out of like all of the figures in all of my collection, they might be 4 of my favorite figures ever, period. So that's my number 5 is the musical mutagen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
It's so cool. It's like, I even thought about it and I wasn't able to get them, but they were so cool.
So I guess I'll go with another pair, actually. And they don't actually, technically they don't go together, but I had too much of a hard time picking them out, to be honest with you, like picking which one was better than the other. They are both of them are Marvel Legends. I guess they fit in a category of sidekicks. And I think one of the reasons is I think for whatever reason, growing up, I kind of gravitated towards the sidekicks. And I guess I did gravitate more towards people of color in comics and shows and stuff. So having this year getting both War Machine and Falcon in really iconic looks and just really well executed figures really kind of stood out to me. And I tried to pick War Machine or Rhodey over Falcon. And then as I was leaving the basement and looking at a box, I saw that Falcon was in a box. I'm like, no, Falcon was supposed to be on the list. So I went back and grabbed him. And then I went back and forth and just was like, I can't pick them. So I would just say they definitely kind of the sidekicks of the year who have elevated to more than that in the thanks to the MCU. I think Don Cheadle and Anthony Mackie really took those characters and ran with them, and looking forward to both of their own TV shows coming to Disney Plus. So
I am so pumped for that Falcon and Winter Soldier show.
And the Armored Wars. Like, I think the idea of
Armored
like
Wars
Don
is
Cheadle,
gonna be cool.
yeah, I think both. I think we've seen stuff from Falcon, so I'm a little psyched about that and have no idea what the Armored Wars is going to be like. But just the fact that we live in an age where it's like Falcon, Winter Soldier, Armored Wars, and Nick Fury all have their own shows is just a testament to what good Disney has done with the MCU in creating a more inclusive world. And that's, I didn't want to get on a soapbox, but no, I think that they just really kind of capture that.
Totally. And it's super important. I mean, characters like Miss Marvel having her own show, it is a wonderful time to be a
Ironheart.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Ironheart got announced too. That's that. Yeah, it's a wonderful time to be a comic book fan, and and to have this progressive thought behind everything is really it is wonderful.
And all these people to look up to. I think that they've all created people to really look up to. So,
Dave, keep us going.
All right. So number 4 for me is a figure that I've alluded to this being on the list already. It is a figure that I didn't another DC multiverse figure that I didn't know I needed until I saw it. And it was one of those figures where I was like, do I want to like break the kind of pseudo superpowers and cinematic figures to get this? And so the first time I saw it, I passed on it. The second time I saw it, I was like, this figure to me is just entirely too cool. Just the construction of it, the effect that it comes with. I just think this figure is awesome. And it's a great representation of what you can do to take an animated character and put it into a figure that's supposed to kind of look like a actual person. And that is the DC Multiverse McFarlane Toys Teen Titans Cyborg.
That's a good one. That's a really good choice.
I like the translucent blue where you can see the inside of the body, the brain, like that. It's just such a cool figure. And then the rocket blast or the laser blast that comes out, it's more of a rocket blast that comes out of that you can use to switch out the hand. it's so cool.
Booyah.
Like that's one of those figures where I saw it and I was just like, this is just a really cool figure. And I need to get this.
Nice.
Yeah, awesome addition. My next one is okay. So my next one is Spin Master Batman, and I'm talking about the 4-inch Spin Master Batman. But I am going to go specifically with the one that comes with the 3-in-1 Batcave playset. Not because I like that Batman particularly more than any of the other Batman, but I think the fact that we have a 4-inch Spin Master line that has amazing play features for kids, and also has this, element of collectible for adult collectors, but also this amazing fun throwback to the Kenner Batman figures with like the elaborate play sets and these amazing play features and fun accessories. And I think that set, the Batman with the Batcave, really kind of embodies the whole line. It has been an incredible year for this line with Spin Master, whether you're just collecting the Cape Crusader stuff or the DC United stuff. It is an awesome line. And I have way more variations of Batman than I ever thought that I would have in 2020. But, at the same time, I have a Talon figure with a shoulder mountable owl, and that's incredible in a 4-inch figure. So, so the Spin Master 4-inch Batman figures, but specifically the 3-in-1 Batcave version is where I'm going for number 4.
Nice. So I'll continue with that theme, I guess, to go into mine. So earlier in this year, so how do I say this? So this isn't necessarily, as far as figures go, the best, but I think the sculpt and the paint on it elevates it to the point where it's a near perfect figure. And if they were accessories with it, it would have made it the definitive figure for me. I'm talking about I don't even know what to call them anymore, to be honest with you. It's either DC Collectibles or DC Direct, and I'm not sure what company they were when I bought this figure, to be honest with you. But it's the Essentials Batman figure, the kind of 80s blue with the big yellow and black bat on him. So not the modern look, but more the classic look with the royal blue colors. I just think for me, it looks like the Batman I grew up with. So it captures the look that the Superpowers figure was based on, and really just it is a definitive Batman look for me. And I wish we had either alternate hands and unmasked head. I mean, it can go on and on. What they could have done with this Essentials line and really made it like the line of toys, but it's DC Direct, so we take the good with the bad, I guess.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen.
No, we have no idea. So but it does stand out as one of the best Batman figures I own in my entire collection. So
awesome pick, Dave. Let's keep rolling with your number 3.
All right, this is where it got tough to kind of differentiate 3, 2, and 1. Although I'm very comfortable with my 3, 2, and 1. So this one is probably the only time I've ever opened a box and have been just completely blown away by the packaging, more so than the figure. But the figure inside of it is really cool too, to the point where I kind of want to get another one, so that way I can keep one open and one not.
A true collector.
Yeah, there you go. Ryan, be proud of you.
Yeah, it's the Diamond Select Gentle Giant Tron from San Diego Comic-Con that came in the Disney Home Video clamshell.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The Tron from the poster, and all of the effects, and it's the same figure as the Tron that was the regular Diamond Tron figure, but the fact that it's the movie poster / box art Tron, and it's all the like bright colors and the blues and the reds, like it's so cool.
Yeah, it's an amazingly painted figure. And doesn't it? It's like mostly black, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mostly a black figure, so it's mostly negative space like the poster.
Well, speaking of figures that are painted mostly black, Dave, my number three is going. I think is going to surprise a lot of people. May even surprise you guys. But I have talked extensively about this figure and how good it is and how weird it is, and I can't believe it exists. And I was kind of hyped for it back at Toy Fair. I am not shy about my love for this artist as a musician, but I am talking about the All the Good Girls Go to Hell Billie Eilish figure from Playmates Toys. This figure looks like it has walked straight out of the music video and onto my shelf, and it looks incredible with my Mutagen Tour turtles and my old school Palisade Toy Company animal with the Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem stage. I'm having the mashup concert of my dreams at all times on my desk. So yeah, my number three action figure of 2020 is the Billie Eilish figure from Playmates, wings and all.
Nice. That's a good one. So this one has a good story. I am blown away by it because I was inebriated one night when I was checking it out, and really, I had gotten a glut of toys that day, and really didn't realize how much it could do. So sitting there at like 1 a.m. after a few drinks, I realized just by like playing around with things on here that it could do this. And I wasn't expecting it to do that. And so a very, very surprised Khalil started just pushing everything on the whole thing, making all these different noises with it. And my number three is the Disney Toy Box Slave One with Boba Fett, because you can open it up and put Boba Fett in the cockpit, but then you open it up, flip it open, and inside it has like this very, very thin piece of plasticky, rubbery material that instead of having a block of Han and carbonite, you put the figure in there and it kind of vacuum forms to the figure if it's placed correctly. So you can put anybody in there and carbonize anybody, which is really, really cool. It's got lights and sounds. It comes with a figure. Bubba's missing his rifle, but with all the extra little pieces, it's just too cool not to play with. And this is a message for all you toy companies. If you're going to sell a toy that requires batteries, include them in the toy, because Disney Toy Box did that. So that's why I was so surprised when I started pushing buttons on here. I wasn't expecting them to light up and make noise because I hadn't put batteries. So thank you, Disney Toy Box, for including batteries with your toys.
Amazing. I love that the Disney Infinity like sculpts, those figures that were for that Toy to Life video game, continue to live on in this toy box line, because the designs of those characters, for those toys were so good that
some of the toy box figures are really cool.
Yeah. And it's great. If you wait until Thanksgiving every year, they do a Disney Store sale. So the figures go on sale, and then you can stack their sale on top of it, and you get them for almost half price. I think the Hall of Armor in this I got for less than half with free shipping. So
cool. So cool. All right, Dave.
Yeah, there was a point where I almost got a couple toy boxes from the sale this year. All right, so number 2. This is probably what you thought number 2 would be. Maybe not. But we're going back early. We're going back to like March, I think, with this one. It was a figure that I was very excited to get. It's a figure that's been a long time coming. to the point where we've now seen four separate variants of this figure. But I'm going with the original, and that's the one I've got. It is the Storm Collectibles Jushin Thunder Liger.
Heck yeah.
I'm gonna admit I don't know what that is. So can you tell me what that actually is?
Sure. So he's a Japanese wrestler, mostly New Japan Pro Wrestling, but he was in WCW. That's where I had first seen him when I was younger. Early '90s, he was there.
But he's actually he's a manga character, right?
Yeah, he's a manga character that they licensed out to make a figure of, which is why that character's figures are separate from the regular New Japan figures because of the license for him. And he's a wrestler who just recently retired, so they've put out a couple extra figures that have been tribute. One was is exclusive to a Japanese company called Knots, which is the super hard to come by one. And then there's 2 Ringside Collectibles exclusives, and then just this kind of general, able to get everywhere, Jushin Thunder Liger. But he's like one of the greatest cruiserweight wrestlers of all time.
Nice, cool.
Yeah, and it is a stunning figure, and a figure that will go down in Adventures in Collecting history, Dave, because it was the first unboxing that you did for Adventures in Collecting. So
it was my first unboxing.
All right, so my number 2 is a figure that was my number 1 until I got what is my number 1. One of my favorite characters in any type of media since I was a kid has been Spawn. And while I am super excited to get the Kickstarter Spawn, which they have started shipping, and I can't wait to have it, it was such a long time coming for a proper articulated Spawn that right around Toy Fair, so back in February of 2020, very early in the year, we got to see that Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn from McFarlane Toys, and it is just such a gorgeous figure, and they did such a nice job executing the way that he looks in the game. And yeah, it's not like that classic crisp, clean lined Spawn that we're used to seeing from the comic books. It has kind of more of this movie realization kind of feel to it. But it is a gorgeous figure, and we had waited such a long time for a proper Spawn figure to finally have one, and for it to kind of live up to the hype of what we saw is super exciting. So again, like, waiting for that Kickstarter Spawn. I'm very excited to get a shipping notification from McFarlane and Kickstarter with that. But until then,
go as far as to say that we're that close enough to the end of the year that's next year.
Yeah. If it arrives in 2021, I'm counting it as a 2021 toy. I actually think, from the pictures that I've seen, the labeling, like the actual physical labeling on the toy, is 2021. So we'll have to see about that. But yeah, so the Mortal Kombat 11 7-inch Spawn from McFarlane Toys is my number 2.
So my number 2, Steve Evans is probably not going to be happy with me because it's not number 1. Even though he's not on the Star Wars team anymore, he definitely said that this was in the works while he was part of the Star Wars team. And so we got our first Ewok this year. In the Black Series line, we got Tebow, and then we got another one in the San Diego box set. And the only reason that this Ewok is not number 1, Steve, is because this is not Wicket. It's the only reason. If this had been Wicket, it would have been number 1 for me. But because it's not Wicket, it's Tebow. I mean, the detail work, the fuzzy little body that they made, I think it just I can't even, like, it really captures it. But the problem is, I have like tons of Ewoks from the vintage / Powers of Force, whatever you want to call it, collection. So like Tebow isn't gonna do much for me, but you know, when we get Wicket, he will be my number one of the year, unless I don't know, they make a transformer that actually transforms or something. Like it would be hard for Wicket not to be number one at some point. So that's my number 2.
So we got to make Wicked happen. That's it.
It's coming. It's coming because the 40th anniversary of Jedi is not next year, but the year after, I think.
Correct. Yeah, 2022.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, that's when I'm sure he will come out in like a vintage card and all that stuff. But until then, Steve, I'm sorry. It only hits number 2 because it's not my favorite Ewok.
That's so good. All right, Dave. What's your? This is your number 1, right?
This is my number 1.
All right, bring it on home for your list.
This should come as no surprise. So we talked about the first unboxing I did, which was the Liger. This one's the most recent unboxing I did. Erik, you alluded to it a little bit because I think you knew this was coming.
Yep.
Super 7. If this is what we're expecting for the Ultimates line for their wrestling figures, well then, bring it on, because this figure is awesome. I like it a lot. It's so cool. I just enjoyed it from opening the packaging to unboxing the figure to the tiny beer can accessory. Of course, I am talking about the 8th wonder of the world, Andre the Giant.
Nice.
Yes.
That's a really good choice.
It's such a cool figure. Like, it scales well. It's everything I could have hoped it would have been. There's been a lot of talk about the head sculpts. I like the head sculpts. I think they're good. Yeah, give me more. Bring on the Series 1 of New Japan figures, the Matt and Brian Ultimates that are coming, the Gallows and Anderson Ultimates that are coming. Let's...
Again, Super 7, just existing
Super
in that
7, awesome.
bubble of just doing like whatever the hell they want and doing such a good job at it. It's crazy.
Nice.
All right, so my number 1. My number 1 is a figure that came out very early this year, but I got it late. So I've only had it for a couple months at this point. Not even one of my favorite characters from DC Comics or even the Batman universe, but this figure is just so cool. And it's so big. And it moves like no other figure I have ever had that is this size and this bulky. And it is actually only my second interaction with a figure from this brand outside of your Jushin Thunder Liger when we had our little pose session with him, Dave, back when we could see each other. My number 1 figure of the year is the Storm Collectibles Injustice Gods Among Us Bane. It is just, for me, it is a marvel of articulation and deco and detail. The way that they use different types of plastics and rubber to hide articulation points and make the figure move naturally. The accessories are simple. You only get 2 additional sets of open hands, opposed to the fists that come on the figure initially. But it is just so good. And it may not be everybody's ideal version of Bane. It is very much so the version from the video game, but it is fantastic, and it scales really well with the other McFarlane DC Multiverse video game characters. So like the Arkham Asylum Batman and Joker and the Arkham Origins Deathstroke look fantastic with this figure. It just blends right in. So it huge win for me from Storm Collectibles. It is a fantastic figure, and it is my figure of 2020.
Okay, so I guess it's up to me to wrap out the list. So this was one of the harder choices, but I think it, for me, it works, and the reason that I picked It's a pair. It's another pair. And it's one that kind of kicked off the year for me, and then it's also one figure kicked it off and one figure ended it. So I think it's a nice little dual pairing of the two. And they're kind of forever linked. So I think it warrants them being together. They're sitting right next to me, and the reason I picked them was because it really captures the magic of growing up in the 80s. And it captures it in a way that your imagination made the figures, the toys of the 80s look. And then when you go back to look at them now, you're like, oh, that didn't look like the cartoon at all. And Hasbro, this is a Hasbro product. Hasbro really knocked Transformers out of the park this year with Earthrise. And so my first kind of leader class of the year, I think leader class. Yeah, I think it's. I always get them mixed up. Optimus with his trailer is part A, and part B is finishing off the year with Bumblebee. They both look like the cartoon that I always wanted them to look like as a kid. They transform really well. They scale really well next to each other. Prime comes with his trailer. And Bumblebee just has that magic look to the head sculpt that they did. And I couldn't separate the two. Like, they've been sitting next to each other in a box right now, like as I'm organizing. And I really couldn't be happier that they made him a beetle. So it was really hard to kind of separate the two for me, because I feel like he was the first big figure I got, and B is the last little figure I'm getting for the year. So kind of like, Tails, kind of bookends the year for me with Transformers. And I really feel like what they're doing this year, last year, and 2021 is, for me as a collector, is my swan song for Transformers. I think they've made my definitive looks for almost everybody. And it would take a lot for me to kind of dive into a whole new line and rebuy these figures over again, because these are just, they're too perfect for me right now.
Yeah, the Transformers team is really reaching that point, between them and Takara Tomy, where they're getting, it's always the kibble talk, right? They're getting to the point where the transformations, both forms, both the Autobot and then the actual vehicle, are so clean and smooth, and they pose nice, and they look great on a shelf in either form. It's and to your point, I think with those two versions of those characters, like, if you are a G1 collector, like, you want like a solid G1 look that transforms, those really are it. Like, I don't know how they could possibly make them better.
Like I said, like earlier in the podcast, I alluded to it. I was like, unless these things sit on your desk and transform themselves, I don't see it getting better for me, because they're all scaled too. Yeah. I think Prime, like, I know I paid $50 for Prime, and everybody's like, well, he's so small. And I'm like, but you got his trailer. Like, you got the trailer. And with Shockwave, same thing. Like, he's small, but he scales with Megatron. He scales with Starscream. He scales with Soundwave. So, like, they're keeping up a scale. Like, B is so much smaller than Prime. And it's just, it really makes me feel like, if when I was a kid and I was pretending to play with these toys, this is what I thought they looked like. And so for a company to be able to capture that is just, and so that's why I'm looking forward to next year's Kingdom, because I think they're going to really round it out. And the only one they're missing for me at the end of the year is going to be Blaster, because I don't think he's scheduled for next year. So the only thing that could pull me back in is a Blaster in the scale, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm okay with that, though. Like, I feel like I'm going to leave this on. I haven't left anything on the table. I'm good closing it out next year. So they're doing a great job.
2020 was an incredibly rough year for everyone. Yeah. But in terms of the product that these companies still managed to churn out, and the quality and the transparency behind all of it, it has been, without question, like, one of the coolest years to collect toys.
And what was our crossover? Like, there were two different The Rock figures.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you guys, and So tell me, you didn't know it. Were you surprised by my list, or like because you said you thought you knew what my list was going to be, or what part of my list was going to be?
I thought that there was going to be more Marvel. I didn't realize that you were going to do as much spread as you did. I assumed that there was going to be at least one or two Transformers on there, and I assumed that there would be more Marvel Legends. So, like, I honestly, like, that part of it surprised me that you spread out your list as much as you did.
Yeah, welcome to my life of how much I actually spend on toys. Like a lot of people, I don't think people realize how invested I am in this, like as a craft, like as an art form. Because most of the stuff I buy, some of it's out of compulsion, right? But for the most part, I look at these as little mini pieces of art. And so I like to sample from a lot of different places. And so I buy a lot of stuff. And that's why this list was so hard for me, because it was like I couldn't it went in so many different directions. And so many things I didn't mention that I bought this year that could have easily been top 10.
100%. There are things that I absolutely adored that I I had to leave out. You know, when you only have 10 slots and a couple of honorable mentions, it's tough to include some of the things that still mean a lot to me and are great, but like they didn't like blow my socks off like everything else that was on this list. So
Yeah, like think of like anywhere from 3 to 5 illy figures a wave, or like the Batman variant, the Batman Detective Comics 1000 variant, that Superman that was Khalil's honorable mention, or was that in the top 10?
No, that was in the top 10. But like the armored Superman or any of the dark metal figures that they came out with were like they were insane. Like all of that stuff could have easily made. I mean, I could have done a top 10 of just McFarlane, like Eric said earlier. Like could have done a top 10 of each one of these lines.
Yeah.
And still had a hard time picking 10. It's
none of us mentioned the NECA Back to the Future figures.
I did my toy of the day tonight on YouTube. I started a new series, and they were Wave 1 was my toy of the day, and I feel a little bit bad about them because as much as I love Michael J. Fox, I'm having a really hard time liking the figures.
Really?
So, yeah. Sorry to say it. Like I think the fragility of them is one thing, and I think I hope that the next Marty that they put out has a neutral face, because I feel like they've made every Marty so far look like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone with the aftershave.
So like, I don't have the one from part 1, but the part 2 Marty, the face that I leave on him is the one with the hat where he has the little smirk.
Yeah, I don't think that I am like. There are very few times I've been starstruck doing this work in my life, and meeting Michael J. Fox one day, I literally, the person I was with said it looked like I was as pale as a vampire. She said like all the blood drained from my face, and I was speechless because I literally bumped into him. Like I took a step backward somewhere, and he was there, and I bumped into him, and I was just like like speechless. I was utterly speechless. And so you've got to really bring it if you're going to do a Marty figure for me.
Well, there you go, NECA, if you're listening, we need a neutral Marty.
Randy, I love Randy, and I love NECA. I love the turtles. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, this is my my favorite thing in the world. So I don't think they're bad. I think everything about them is great. I just want a neutral Michael J. Fox, and that you're fine. Like I'd be fine after that. I don't care what you do with the other ones.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more from them.
Definitely
in 2021 for sure. Yeah. More this year.
Yeah,
NECA is that one thing where I've been like Eric, I know you did some of the horror figures. If I did, like, oh man, I would need every Jason. Like I would need, and I can't do it. They're all so good.
I've already gotten more than I intended to with the NECA figures. Unfortunately, I've gone down the rabbit hole with that a little bit. So
And I do the turtles. So, but I haven't opened the turtles, to be honest with you. Because I'm a little bit afraid of them, to be honest, to be frankly honest with it. I think they look amazing. But from a collector's standpoint that wants to pose them and put them out, I'm a little worried about them. So that's what kind of keeps NECA at bay for me, knowing that.
Yeah, you really have to. I mean, with kid gloves, as they say, you have to with them. I have maybe 10 or 12 NECA figures at this point. I have only had one break on me, and I returned it and swapped it out for another, and the other one was fine.
And actually, there was going to be a NECA figure on my list, but I didn't think you guys would let me. It's a figure I bought this year. It was a figure that was commercially available for the first time this year, but it technically wasn't a 2020 figure, so I decided to leave it off the list. It's the Hal Jordan.
Oh yeah, I was going to say one of the 2X.
Yeah, that might be my favorite Hal Jordan figure ever. So, I do love NECA stuff. It's just, if you're going to do a Michael J. Fox figure, you got to do it right for me.
Fair enough. Well, listen, I think this is a perfect opportunity to wrap it up. Let's put 2020 in the rear view mirror. Let's move into 2021. There are a ton of really cool things to look forward to from all these toy companies that we love. Khalil, thank you so much for joining us on Adventures in Collecting and going through it with us.
Thank you, Khalil.
Thank you, guys.
Tell everybody where can we find the podcast? Where can we find you on Instagram if they aren't following you and hearing from you already?
So on every social media platform, from Instagram to YouTube, which you should try now because I'm doing a daily show every day, we are at Kastor's Korner on everything. And then if you're looking to contact us or looking to find any of our stuff, castorscorner.com, you'll find the podcast, you'll find the Instagram, you'll find everything. So you can always land on castorscorner.com for everything. And
a big thank you to you. You barely knew, had barely interacted with us, and still, one of our fondest memories was bumping into you at Toy Fair and having a super lengthy conversation with you out of the blue, and all the way through from February to now. I mean, you have been an amazing friend, and we're very happy to know you. So thank you so much for everything you've done for us.
Thank you, guys. It really means a lot.
And with that, we're going to wrap it up, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azzari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.